Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to talk about one of the biggest mistakes that people make when you are under GLP-1 medications like semaglutide and tirzepatide. So I'm not talking about retatrutide here. That is my favorite and that's the one which I personally use and I recommend to my people also. But here we talk about semaglutide and tirzepatide, which is what normally most of the people use and normally what doctors suggest because this is what FDA approved, right? So semaglutide is your Ozempic, if I want to give an example. Tirzepatide is your Mounjaro. And semaglutide work on GLP-1 receptor and tirzepatide work on GLP-1 and GIP. So tirzepatide is slightly advanced than semaglutide and retatrutide is having 3 receptors. So here we will have one more GLP-1 plus GIP plus glucagon. So that changed the game entirely. So that is why I said retatrutide is my favorite. But let's talk about this GLP-1 medication, right? See, when you start using this, of course, you'll start losing weight. But after a few months, that progress will come down or it may completely stop. And what comes to your mind first? Maybe my dosage is low, right? That's what you start thinking. And then you start increasing the dosage slowly. But do you think that's the real solution? Surprisingly, that's not the real solution. The real problem is that most of the people actually misunderstood how GLP-1 medications function or what exactly GLP-1 is doing on to your body. In fact, GLP-1 medications do not directly make you lose weight, right? What they actually do is create an opportunity to weight loss, right? So what they do, they reduce your hunger, they reduce your cravings. You don't have that appetite. So they turn that receptor on so that your appetite will come down, your hunger will come down, your cravings will reduce. So that means they reduce your constant thoughts about food. So your intake will come down. You remain in calorie deficit. So see, for the first time in many years, now you are seeing your biology is no longer constantly pushing you to eat. So see, just think of it like, a window, opening a window. The medication, what they do, they open the window, but you still have to walk through it, right? So the medication is basically creating the opportunity and your daily habits is what determining the result. So once you understood this principle, then weight loss is going to be much more easier than what you think, right? So you can easily understand the science of weight loss also. So now let's look at the 3 biggest accelerators that can dramatically improve your long-term result when you are under GLP-1 medication, whether semaglutide or tirzepatide. So the first accelerator, first and most importantly, protect your muscle. See, most people celebrate when kilograms or pounds you see that losing from your body. But very, very few people I've seen, they ask one important question. In fact, all of you should be asking this question: what exactly I'm losing from my body? See, when you see weight loss is happening on GLP-1 medication, weight is coming down rapidly. It's not that all the weight which comes down is your body fat, right? There are research which shows that approximately 1/4 to 1/3 of the weight loss can be actually come from your lean muscle mass. That is the issue with semaglutide and tirzepatide, and that's why I told I prefer retatrutide. That's an entirely different discussion that I'll tell you. So you are under this medication, right? That's why I'm discussing this. So this is a major problem. You should protect your muscle loss. So muscle is one of the biggest drivers of metabolism, right? And even when you're sleeping, muscle tissues burns calories. So if you lose significant muscle, during your weight loss journey, your metabolism actually slow down. So initially the number on the weighing scale, if you see, that looks great, but later what happens? This fat loss slow down. And once the medication is stopped, then what happened? Your metabolism already reduced and make you to gain the weight much faster and much easier also. So it'll be back to even a worse condition than what you were before. So the goal is not to simply losing weight. The goal is losing fat, but you have to preserve muscle. So there are 2 simple ways to achieve this. The first is intake of protein. Protein become one of the highest priorities, and it has to be your highest priority if you are, under GLP-1 treatment, because of course the appetite is significantly reduced. You don't have the craving, so you have to force yourself to take enough protein. So a practical target you need to keep approximately it can be 1 gram of protein for every pound of your goal or body weight, right? So that has to be the target that you can keep. For example, 2 grams per kilogram. That's something which you can keep. So if your goal, if your target is around 150 pounds, then your protein intake can be 150 grams. That means if you're looking for 75 kilogram body, for me, if I'm looking for 80, then I have to look for 160 grams of protein every day. So that may feel difficult because, your appetite is suppressed during the medication, but you have to maintain that adequate protein, and that will help you to preserve muscle. Otherwise, you'll be losing muscle significantly. The second strategy is very important, that is resistance training. You have to do the weight training. Lift weight at least 3 times a week and focus on the major muscle groups like your legs and your backs and your chest. So the purpose of weight training is not simply burning calories during the workout. The actual purpose is you're sending a signal to the body, and that signal is telling your body that this muscle is still very important. Keep it as such, keep it strong. Right. So when you combine your high protein intake with your resistance training, your body becomes much more likely to lose fat while preserving the muscle. So your muscle is protected. You are giving what is required input wise, and you are doing that effort also. So you keep working on that muscle, and then fat loss will be significant. So that is actually completely changing the quality of your weight loss. It's not about quantity. I'm also concerned about quality of weight loss. Now, the second accelerator: don't increase your dose every time when you see your weight loss is coming down. This is one of the biggest mistake that people make in, during their GLP medication. They increase the GLP-1 dose every time when you see that weighing scale stop moving, right? But in many cases, the medication as such is not the problem. The real issue is the people, that they begin, eating too little, right? Because appetite is already slow and very low, and many people unintentionally reduce their calorie intake to very low, like 800, 900, 1000 per day. And initially, the weight loss will be rapid, but after some time, the body recognizes this as period of severe energy shortage. So what body will do is, body in response will slow down the metabolism. So the body enters what can be described as an energy conservation mode. So body try to save energy. So people often notice several symptoms also during this period, like you constantly you feeling very cold constantly and with low energy, mental fog and constipation, fatigue. You see, despite eating very little, your weight loss also stopped during this time. And at this stage, when you're increasing your medication, what happens is that actually make the situation worse, because appetite becomes even lower. So the real solution may actually be the opposite. Sometimes body need more nutrition. Gradually increasing calorie intake over a period of time actually can help to restore the metabolic activity. Otherwise, metabolism slow down. So I would say to increase your calorie intake when you're under GLP medication. So as metabolism improves, your fat loss may begin again. So that's the best way. You try to, that is why retatrutide is more important. That plays with glucagon, that plays against insulin resistance, and that plays to play a very vital role in your improvement of metabolism also. See, this sounds counterintuitive, but the fact is that, the body cannot continue losing fat continuously just like that. So if you want to lose fat efficiently, this is something which you have to do. If body believes that it is starving, you can't lose weight. It will protect that energy. It will go to energy conservation mode. So the goal is not eating as little as possible. The goal is maintaining a healthy metabolism, at the same time remaining you will try to remaining in a sustainable calorie deficit also. Correct. Now comes the third accelerator: control insulin through meal timing. There's a third accelerator, that is, you need to understand insulin. Every time we eat, what happens? Insulin level spike. So this is completely normal. Insulin helps to move the nutrients into the cell. But if we continue eating throughout the entire day, from early morning till late night, insulin remains elevated most of the time. So when insulin stays elevated continuously, then the body spends more time, storing energy and less time accessing the body fat which is already stored. So you try to store more energy, and this is where meal timing become very important. So you have to give your body longer period, without food, allows insulin levels to fall. That's something which you need to do. So give some slightly longer period, longer gap. So don't allow food, or food make that insulin spike. So when the insulin levels is decreasing, the body in fact becomes more willing to use that stored fat as energy resource. And that is one of the reasons why intermittent fasting has become very important strategy for improving your metabolic health. Even limited food intake to a kind of defined eating window every day, that also will help you to improve your fat utilization in a proper way, right? So also like this longer therapeutic fasting protocols that may also produce even greater effect in some individuals. So during fasting, there will be adequate hydration and electrolyte intake so that you know body will get that get that hydration, right? So that is something which you need to keep in mind. Otherwise, fasting can be counterproductive also. See, the individuals taking insulin or certain diabetic medication, they should always discuss fasting with their healthcare provider because blood sugar levels require a careful monitoring. That's something which is a different case. I just want to tell that also. So the important message is, weight loss is not determined only by how much you eat. When you eat also influence metabolism. Meal timing becomes another powerful tool alongside the calorie control. So let's try to find out what is the right GLP-1 dosage. There's another important concept which is actually, let me tell you, using the lowest effective dose is always better. And many people assume that higher the dose, that will automatically produce better result. That's not always true. The ideal dose is the lowest dose that effectively control your hunger, but at the same time allow you to consume enough protein and nutrients so that you will maintain your muscle, support a healthy metabolism, right? You need to have enough intake of proteins and nutrients, maintain your metabolism, preserve your muscle so that you don't have so much urge also to have the food. So the medication basically should help you to build sustainable habit. It should not suppress appetite so much, and that you can't even take proper nutrition or getting that protein and all becoming impossible. So over a period of time, when the muscle mass improve, insulin sensitivity gradually improve. That will help you for fat burning also. That will help a better metabolism also, right? So healthy eating habit will get established also over a period of time if you continue doing this. Some people even eventually require later lower doses only, because you build that insulin sensitivity at the same time proper metabolism. And for some individual, it may even become possible to discontinue the medication while maintaining the results through the lifestyle change that you develop during this period. So what I want to tell you is that the biggest lesson is that GLP-1 medications are just the tools. They create a window, they create the opportunity, they reduce the hunger, they reduce your cravings, and they make healthy decisions easier. But they are not going to replace healthy habits. Long-term success, if you want, that basically depends on what you build during this opportunity. So protect your muscle with high protein intake and resistance training. Don't automatically increase the medication every time when you see weight losses getting slowed down. Support your metabolism instead of pushing it into a kind of starvation mode. And use that meal timing and insulin control so that you'll be helping your body to access stored fat more efficiently. So when these strategies are combined with GLP-1 therapy, weight loss is becoming healthier, more sustainable, and much easier to maintain over the long term. So the ultimate goal is what? It's not to simply losing weight quickly. The goal is building a healthier metabolism so that you preserve your muscle, improve your metabolism, improve your muscles also, and create a habit that will allow you to keep the weight off for years to come. So that is what I want to discuss, and that's what exactly I talk to my clients and my mentees. So I hope you got some points. Thank you so much. I see you in the next video.